Natural resources. We have exhausted more natural resources than any other generation, probably from the time of Adam. You put them all together. I think in our lifetime, Jack, we probably exhausted more natural resource than any other generation put together. So again, we're borrowing from our next generation in order to fuel the growth that you and I have enjoyed in the last 30, 40, 50 years. Another one, environmental degradation. You and I have been polluting like hell, especially Americans. And now you're joined by the Chinese. So with the two together, the Americans and the Chinese make a perfect pair. We're the leading polluters in the world. Who's going to pay? Well, I told you I'm already over 60. So my son is only 28, 29. They pay. So are we that brilliant? Are we that good? Or were we just doing exactly what the individual should not have done in the last 15 years, borrowing from tomorrow, enjoying it today? We enjoyed it in the last 30, 40 years. Our sons are going to pay. Now let me go to some specifics on the West, in particular the United States. What I see are the issues, the challenges, and if you will, the problems. The first one is that America is probably the only ideological country I know left in the world. Whenever I say that, my American friends cringes. We are ideological? You're so ideological that you don't even know it. Ideology is in your blood. You say, hey, what about the communists? Well, I go to China every other week, sometimes more than that. I have yet to meet a true communist. The ideology over there, I think, is this. Sometimes I feel not even RMB, more the US dollars. But now this thing is worth nothing, so RMB is better now. Anyway. So, America is hugely ideological, as I will try to prove later. And we don't just keep our ideology to ourselves. We like to export our ideology. We're evangelical. We are proselytizing. We're crusaders. Just like 1,000 years ago, we're still crusading, just of a different sort. And so we export our ideology everywhere. But that is going to put us into a very, very difficult position. Let me give you some examples. Saudi Arabia. I was just there 3 months ago, a few months ago. Saudi Arabia has a terrible human rights track record. Why doesn't America give them hell? They have a far worse human rights track record than China, probably. And yet, every year, America go to the United Nations and condemn China. Why don't you condemn Saudi Arabia as well? It's all geopolitics. It's all geoeconomics. And so, while we are ideological, and while we export our ideology, be careful, because you may put yourself into a morally undefendable position. Consider another one. What happened to Mubarak? What happened to Egypt? They've been our friends for 30-some years. And suddenly, when we see the wind blowing the wrong direction, suddenly, sorry Mubarak, you're on your own. Ben Ali of Tunisia, other places, even Bahrain, where we have our naval base there. And yet, we sell out our friends, just like flies, just swap them. Every US president, before he became president in recent decades, all condemn China. But after they enter the White House, pragmatism comes in, and they all backtrack. Even before the election starts next year, I read recently that some of the candidates are already jockeying for positions to condemn China. Well, you're ideological. You are evangelical. You are proselytizing. You're crusaders. But just make sure that you don't get yourself in a position which is morally undefendable. If not, your moral superiority, which, by the way, is truly amazing. The moral superiority of the West today will turn into your moral decline. You know, recently I was in Berlin, listened to Angela Merkel. She kept talking about the shared value. I asked the question, I said, shared value, I'm from Asia. Do I share your value? Am I supposed to share your value? If not, then you're excluding all the Asians from your statement of the shared value. No one is suggesting you should give up your value. Your value may be very good, maybe even the better ones. But by saying it, you already divide the world. What happened to the Middle East? What happened to the Arab countries? What happened to the African countries? Do they share your value? Of course, there's certain hypocrisy to it. You know, I cite the case of how the British, when they rule India, my good friend Anil Kumar is sitting here, when they rule India for what, how many years? Well over a century. They never share their value with you because they are at an advantaged position. They don't care to share their shared value. But it's, of course, my Indian friends. I mean, that's the ultimate success of colonization, is that my Indian friends then pick up after the British left the shared value. And the result? Sorry, Anil, 50 years of pretty terrible poverty. So, I'm not saying that that is the only way to poverty. There are other ways of poverty. But you surely have your way. And that is what the British did not succeed in the physical colonization. They surely succeeded in the value colonization. And by the way, I didn't warn you ahead, neither did Angelina. I'm going to offend a lot of people. So I just want to let you know that tonight I'm going to catch a flight at 1:20 a.m. I'll be out of town, so please don't throw rocks or eggs or tomato. Thank you. You know, by having that moral superiority coupled with the evangelization, the United States is putting itself in a very awkward position. So much so that it can no longer be even honest. America can no longer be honest. Now, what moral authority do you have when you can no longer be honest? Consider the following. I cited some example already of how the political process, how everybody bashed China before getting to the White House, right? Let me give you some more. The government. The government is extraordinarily afraid, or at least some people in America are very extraordinarily afraid of the rise of another power. Why are you so afraid? Well, the reason is because of the lack of knowledge, the lack of deep knowledge of China's history, China's civilization of 3,000 years, as well as today's China. You know, 2 days ago I was at Yale, and at a meeting, one of the speakers was, anyway, a lot of people ask a lot of questions about the renminbi and about, you know, why the banks are not lending money to the small and medium enterprises and so on and so forth. To me, the answer is so obvious. And yet, all these smart people, senior former government officials, have no idea what are the aspirations and fears of the Chinese people and the Chinese government. And so they talk about as if they have a big problem, all kinds of problems. Of course, all the fingers are pointing at China, from RMB to bank lending and this and that. And that actually, if you understand a little bit more about the aspirations and fears of the Chinese people, the answer can become very quickly obvious. The media also is no longer honest. I just met my friend whom I've not seen for some years. Michael, where are you? Zelensky? Right, Michael? Right, formerly with Knight Ridder. Sorry, Michael, the media can no longer be honest. Or maybe you think you're honest. And I can make a case that today, now I'm going to really offend people. That's a side door. I hope it's not locked. I can make a case that there is no freedom of the press today in America. And if you really press me, I can go further. That there is perhaps even no freedom of speech in America. Why do I say that? Well, yesterday, 2 days ago, when I was on the East Coast at that Yale meeting, one of the speakers on China was the former U.S. ambassador to China, Sandy Rand, who was a Yale, of course. And at the end, one of our fellow council members asked Sandy, I said, Sandy, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Are you speaking for the Chinese? Are you standing on the side of the America? Sandy didn't say anything. He's a gentleman. I almost want to jump in and say, wait a second. Why should we take sides? Are we not interested in facts? Or are we interested in sides? You know, today, the ideology in this country, in particular, among the journalists, Michael? Sorry. Together with the need for soundbites. So the whole society, led by the media, is locked into certain positions. And if you don't take that position, if you have a different opinion, you are not accepted. And hence, the question from a very, very noted individual that asked Ambassador Rand that question, whose side are you on? Does the fact matters anymore? Or are you just interested in which side? Are you afraid of facing the truth? You know, the communists are pretty good in propagating lies. I fear that the Americans are learning from them. There's a lot of good things to learn from China, but there's something that you shouldn't learn from China.